Alrighty, welcome back. I'm your man, Bad Chad, and Queen Jolene's on the camera, and it's Fun Day Sunday. I've got the red support here. That's what we're going to fix today. When I'm looking at this, there's so many different ways that you or I or somebody else could fix this red support, and I want to go through it just because it does not matter which way you pick. You should have a reason behind why you're choosing that situation, sort of. That's how I sort of do it. When I cut the quarter panels off and I butt welded them on, the reason that went through my mind is because I have overlapped them before, and it does not look good in the trunk when you see that piece, that metal's hanging down over on the inside. When you look inside the trunk and you can see that metal hanging down, it doesn't look that great. I've used the flanger before, and what I mean by flanger is I put a flange on the metal, and then I could lay the metal on so it's flush, and then weld it on. And then when you go inside the trunk, then you can see where that flange is, and then when you try to hide that flange, then you end up building up on the inside of the trunk filler or whatever you want to do to get rid of that flange on the inside. So basically, my brain came to butt welding that on because it looks better on the inside where you can see it. On a door or something like that, when you're putting a door bottom on, it doesn't matter much if you overlap them, but it does matter when you come to the edge of the door. You want to keep that edge of that door as thin as possible, exact same as that edge. You cannot see inside the door. The trunk you open up, you can take a look in, but inside the door, you really have to have the skin off to see what's going on there. So if you've overlapped it, that's fine. If you've butt welded it, that's fine. And the reason you're trying to butt weld that thing is to use less filler, which sometimes it does, but what would it be, that much less? You know, what I'm trying to say. There's many different ways of doing things. So as you get going and doing your car or working on your car, sometimes the biggest problem is, how am I going to fix it? Which way is the right way? Which way is the best way? On this inner fender here, you watched this yesterday, cut that out, and then we put the piece in. Do I need to butt weld that in there? Am I filling the car out? Am I filling the inner fenders out to make them look perfect, so I'm going to paint them? You have to think about, am I going to fix the other side? So we've got this side where it's welded on. Then we have the other side. There's always two sides to the panel, so we have this other side here. With me, I was feeling it like it was okay because I'm not... Even if I was restoring this car to 100%, you would end up filling that out if I butt welded that on there, and then you'd be painting it. Yes, you would. On the fenders, I've butt welded the pieces on the fenders because I want the fenders as thin as possible on the bottom. But in all honesty, when it comes to something like this, does it matter if I cut it out? Does it matter if I lay it over top? Does it matter if I cap it and weld it on? That sort of stuff. Basically, to me, fix it the way you want to, considering the job that you're going for. I'm trying to weld the car up, take the rust out of it, and weld it up. I'm not looking to restore it to 100% original, as you can tell. I do not think that this car ever will be made into something that's mint. This car is for the enjoyment, the look, and the love of the 56 Plymouth, I guess. The floor is not original, that sort of stuff. But when it comes to fixing stuff like this, you have to make a choice. I can overlap it very easily and leave everything there. But one thing you will do, and you always should do, is knock the rust out of it. And what I mean by that is hit it with a hammer to know what's going on. So if I come in here and I cleaned it up a little bit, and then I start to replace it, it would be just like the fender. When I put a little piece in it, it burned back on the fender. I did not go back far enough. So that hammer is a good piece of advice to go along and bang it and hit it to find out what you have. As I'm going along here, I banged, this was not even a hole, but where I got banging on it, rust come out of it. That there, I don't want to bang on too much because there's not much there. Let's flip it over the other side. I want to thank everybody for coming back. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's all about the love of the cars and the hobby, to be honest with you. And, you know, and just keeping yourself busy. As I banged on that, it made a hole. And it you know, you don't have to kill it, you just have to bang it. Now, as we get looking at this, what has happened here? What can you see what's going on here that people always get mad about? Oh, you're overlapping the metal. Well, what did they do here? They've overlapped the metal. It's kind of a car building thing, you know, to overlap metal. So when someone overlaps a piece of metal, be okay with it because the factory does it. Be okay with it. Trying to knock the rust out of there. Now, got a little bit up here. We're going to hit this over here. See how that popped out? Not going to bang it too much more because it's going to take off on us. So, in the end, we have this piece here that's rotted. We got a hole over here, so that makes this piece got some rot in it. We've got rot on the bottom of it. And we have rot on the face of it. So we always go to the paper patterns. Yes, we do. And let's repair it. And you know, when I first worked in a body shop for the very first time in my life, I did not know how to fix it. Is this right? Am I doing the right thing or not by how I'm fixing this? And you learn after a while that there's many different ways of fixing it, but in all honesty, the main thing is to get the rust out. Like, for instance, a lot of people would even attempt, oh, you can't fix that like that, you got to take it out and sandblast. A lot of people want to take that out and sandblast it and then bring it back in to see exactly where the holes and stuff like that. Or, like I said, you can take the hammer and bang on it and find out where the holes are and knock the rust out of it and go from there. But like I said again, I am not going outside and sandblasting this car and restoring this car. I'm repairing the rust on it so I can enjoy it and put it back together. We have, like I said, we have that inner fender there repaired. We got this inner fender here we took off, and Doug started sanding it and just took some paint. Basically, we just want to clean it up, or that's what's going on with this car. There's different stages of repairs for everything, and you have to keep in mind what stage you're going for your repair. Like, are you going for a restoration piece when you're done A100? Because I'll tell you something. See this little crease in here, this little crease in here, and this little crease in here probably would be in your new pieces that you make. So if I want to fix a red sport and I took it out and sandblasted it, I'm getting paid to make this car the best it can be and look the best it can. I would make a patch from here, probably all the way across. I would put them back in it. I would probably try to butt weld the piece in the best I can so you could not see the repair and going that way. Where I'm only fixing the car and fixing the rust, I'm going to put a piece in it. I'm not worried about that little piece there. I'm not worried about that there. When that's down there on that car, the red sport, you barely can tell, you barely can even see this piece if you try. So for me, I know which way I'm going to repair it. When you build your car and where you're going, so if you've got this restored or sandblasted and you're painting it and you're filling it, you make sure that you want to do the best job you can. I am doing the best job I can, as quick as I can, for the repair that I have or I want to do. In the center of this, there is no rust here. It doesn't seem like I banged on. It's quite nice in the center. Don't know if I want to overlap it or not. See, that's where it comes in, which way you want to do it or not. But I do know one thing for sure. It's rusty from here over. I know one thing for sure. And I want the rust out of it. I'm not restoring it to 100%. I'm not doing that. I'm fixing it and repairing it so we can have fun with it. Let's get a pair of scissors. I'm basically going at it the same way, you know. I got to make a pattern for it. Going at it the same way. It's just two different type of builds going on in my brain, you know. And sometimes that's the hardest part of building a car, is which way should I do it? And just take and work it over inside your head by yourself and ask yourself, is it necessary to cut and make them pieces lines in it if I'm just going to repair it? And to me, it does not make sense. I do not have to get out the bead roller and make this a lifetime job repairing this one piece. I do not want to make it a lifetime job. Just want to cut off a little bit more. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back here, right on there. I'm not going to mess with that. We've got a bowl hole here, something bolts to that. There's no rot right there, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a little bit more off this. Nice piece for there. Take that off of there. That makes a nice piece for there. We can get that in place. Clean that up a little bit. We'll make a couple pieces and we'll go from the next step. Yep, I can remember working at, it was Rick Sullivan's. I used to work at Rick Sullivan's one time. He used to do a lot of old cars, and I wanted to work there because he did do old cars. It was my first attempt of getting into it. Really didn't know much. And I remember not knowing which way I should do it. And basically, go over it in your own head and figure out where you're going. Sometimes that's a hard thing to do, is figure out in your own head where you're going. I had a piece of metal right over here, I thought. It's a lovely piece of metal. Lovely piece of metal. Not as lovely as Jolene, but lovely. Just going to do this. We'll get all our pieces cut out. Also, with something like this, I like, or what I do, is I undercoat it when it's complete. When I put the piece of metal on, I weld it on. When I put the piece of metal on, I weld it on. Do the exact same thing to this side. When I am done and ready to rock and roll with, after everything that I want to do is done, that's when I go back in and undercoat. So what I would do is, I would take my undercoat and shove it inside this hole and spray it all inside here, so there's undercoating in here that would go in between the metal and all the pieces that you have welded on the Radsport. One thing you, not say must know, but you should know, is that where you've welded it is where it's going to rust first. And the reason being is you've taken the temper out of it, or you've taken, I'm not sure what you've taken out of it, but that's where it's going to rust first, is where you have, also make two. You may as well make two. I just have to remind myself to clean this line up here. I plasma cut this piece, and I found on Jim's tank where you don't clean it, where the plasma cutter hit, it welds dirty. What I mean by that is it pops air and that sort of stuff back at you, and it makes the welding not look good. And we want everything to look good if we can. Me and Jolene went out for breakfast this morning. Awesome. Awesome. So we're just going to cut those two pieces. And remember, to make yourself happy is doing it the way you want to do it. That's what makes you happy. Doing it the way you want to do it. Well, that's what makes me happy anyway, do it the way I want to do it. Nobody wants to be told what to do all the time. You know what I'm trying to say? Do what makes you happy. And that's do it your way. That's what makes you happy. If you did not know, I'm letting you know. How's that? Nice guy I am. I can cut this many different ways. I can cut it with a zip cut. I can cut it with a pair of shears. I can cut it with tin snips. I can cut it with many different things, but this morning I want to cut it with this. Jolene's a badass. I'll tell you why. Because she can answer and talk on her phone as she films. You're a badass, Jolene. She's a badass. It's actually a fun tool to use if you've never used one before, this thing here, you know, just for shits and giggles. They're fun to use. I say that as I can't get the cut I want. But any time that you have a repair, a rust repair, if you watch the show or you watch me do it, the very first thing you should be heading for is the Bristol board or the paper. That's the very first thing you should be heading for if you're trying to fix something. So just go to that safe spot, and that safe spot is a piece of paper to make a pattern. Go there first. It'll save you a lot in the long run. Cutting a piece of paper is way easier than cutting a piece of metal. Way easier. And you can fix it before you get into your metal. Your metal's expensive. You probably do not want to waste it. I think that we're all going for the same thing when we fix our car, is the best job we can do. I think that's what we're all going for, is the best repair we can. And if it's not, it should be. Unless you know, you're, like I say, getting a car ready for inspection or something like that, and it just needs to get on the road, and it's called affordability. That's another thing too, when you're doing something like this. When I'm not using epoxies and etch primers and pre-washes and all that sort of stuff, I am trying to make the job more practical for the everyday person. And the reason I say it's practical, because it's not necessary to buy all that stuff. I have cars that I've done that have lasted a long time, and I did not buy any of that stuff that cost the big money. And I'll put it to you this way too. I've also bought the good stuff and had it fail. Also. I want to repeat that again. I bought the expensive stuff and it still failed. Not the good stuff. The good stuff is the stuff that makes it work the cheapest. That's the good stuff. And I do not feel like it makes the job any better using more expensive stuff. It does not. So we have one piece going on there. Looks not bad. Straighten this one out. Now, I see the repair on this, so I can count the pieces already before I start it. 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 5, 6. There's 6 different pieces going on there. If you're trying to make that out of one piece, it seems difficult. We have another piece there. It's looking good already. We want to clean up where we're welding to. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it on here. I'd put it on, see now, as I've got this, I do this. This is a little bit big for what's going on here, just a little bit, So what I would do is I would weld my top on. See, I can weld my top right along the top here very nicely. I can trim it back a little bit and weld that top on nicely. When I get this welded on, I can take my grinder and then I can knock this little bit of edge off, that flap reel, knock this edge off so it's just right. And I can do the exact same thing this one. As long as the edge is nice and clean, I'm going to go for it. Now, I feel like I could cut that out, but I feel like, why is it necessary for me to cut that out? They've overlapped it. That means that I can overlap it. But when I overlap it and I weld it on, I'm going to spray undercoating in there, so undercoating goes in there everywhere and goes for everything. If I cut it off, yes, I can. I honestly just don't want to be honest with you. That means I can lay my piece on there easier, and I get my piece welded on easier, and then try to fit it in there and be, make a mountain out of a molehill. Basically, I'm going to weld it on there and make it as easy as possible for me. And I'll undercoat it, and then I'll be happy. Knock the rust out of it the best you can, and then go for it. Now, I can cut the rust or the stuff out there you do not like. I can cut that out. On this one, I do not think that it's necessary. And the reason it's not necessary because of where I'm taking the car. The car is being fixed and repaired. And once these pieces are welded on here, once I undercoat that piece, you would never know, and I do not feel once I repair it, it's ever going to have to be ever repaired again because I'm going to undercoat it, put some, whatever you want to put in, some, we use crown undercoating, so I can crown undercoat it, so it's seeping right out all the time. We're not going to drive it in the winter anymore. I'm sure this car was driven in the winter and the rain and the thing. This is a car that we're going to probably look after, I guess. Or whoever decides that they'd like to have it, they're going to look after it. They're not going to ride it in the wintertime and all that sort of stuff. And it should be more than okay. So I'm just going to hold it down here on this edge here nice. Pluck that sucker on. I need a ground before I even start. I was watching a thing on the old tube. When I say the tube is the old internet. Showed this guy working on a car, and it had his woman right behind him doing all the things that he forgot to do, like poke his ground on, bend his piece of metal for him. It's kind of funny, actually. Reminded me and Jolene, actually. But yeah, just going to weld this on here, not putting any bumps in the metal. I'm just going to make it work. Turn the gas on. See, baby? I could have had you do something else for me, what? Turn the gas on. I'm just going to push it down here. Another one too. To weld it solid or not to weld it solid. There's another thing. Does this need it to be welded solid as I spot that on? I can spot that on there the whole way along and then seam seal it. Yes, I can. The reason I like to weld it up completely, Just grinds off and look nicer, that's all. It's hard to seam seal or something like that. I can grind that off really good where we're on the edge like that. And I really do not have to worry about warpage on something like this. And the reason I don't have to worry about warpage on something like this because all the bends that are in it, like it's really a tight bending thing going on here. And you can tack it. It's called speed, or it's called getting it done is what it's called. You know, if you want to get it done that way. Let's put the other one on, right at the welder going. We'll start in the exact same place as we'd start the other one. Get a little distance going on there. We'll do the exact same thing so it looks the same. So it looks the same. Wherever it's the tightest, I'm going to hit it. That's generally where I weld it, wherever it hits the tightest. We're not so good up in here, but we're pretty good there. Yeah. Hammer and bang that down. Alrighty. I actually can tap that down along the way and we'll get it over top of those humps. So make sure it's down tight. Alrighty, let's knock this edge down. And the marks that I showed you in the little beaten, that's just the bead roller. Like the little marks I showed you, you can see one coming through there when I hit the metal. The little bead roller, just put a little line like that. I'd take it to the bead roller, I'd change my bead roller, and I would put that little line in it. Little line there, little line there, and a little line there. But you have to figure out when I say to go do that, that means you have to go in the other room. You have to take the bead roller apart, take off the dies, get the right die to make the right thing. So basically, it's called more time, and I don't feel like what I'm doing right here now is deserving of the time that requires to make that piece. I'm going to take the time I feel like it requires to fix it. Only use the hammer when you have to, because the hammer will make things look poopy. It will make things look poopy if you do not. Or if you do, start hammering things. Good. I just use it to hammer down the edge to make it tight. Now we're going to make another piece-whip along here. Now I've beaten that, I've cleaned that, I've beaten that with a hammer, knocked all the loose stuff out of it, and I'm going to leave it. I can cut it out, but I'm not. I'm going to leave it, I'm going to cover it, and then I'm going to undercoat it. And it will probably be there. It'll probably be there for as long as someone has the car. And the reason being is, this time I feel like it is something that someone's going to look after. I'm not saying they are for sure, but I feel like it's going to be looked after. And if it isn't, oh well. I'm just going to, not going to do that at all. Just going to put that back up there. That's a straight piece, looks like to me. Didn't have to really even do that. Just going to cut a piece off with my scissors. Did I do too much talking? Am I going to get this done? Huh? Pepe? There we got a little. What's happening here is I'm going to match it up with that. We got no rot going on in there. I'm going to match it up with that just so it looks nice. I'm going to. I like to cut them off. Actually, this one's rotted up a little bit further, so I'm going to make this one, and then I'll take the pattern from that one and put it on here so they're both the same. I'm going to cut this straight. We're going to go right there and match up with that. Right along there and match up with that. You can see where the rod is. I'm just going to go a little bit further. Cut it off straight. Cut that off straight. Also, it's a little bit wider there. Skinnier up here, so we'll do this. That's how wide it has to be. Then it has a shape down here. Get the shape off this one if I can. It goes wider. You can just see how it's wider there and goes skinnier there. I'm just trying to relay that onto that pattern. I threw the scissors away. Guessing all the way along here. What am I guessing? Pretty good guess, eh? All right, let's put that on a piece of metal. I'm going to make this straight so I can get a straight line. We'll take it over here to the shear and make it straight. That way there I can actually, we'll just use this piece. That makes it straight for me all the way down. Go. Can I get two out of that? I can. Whoop whoop. Two of the same. Two of the same. I was just going to shear that piece of metal that had the cut in it, so it had a straight edge, but if I find a piece of metal like this, why would I not use it already without cutting it? We're just going to go like this. And the undercoating is a lot different than years ago. Like some of the undercoating years ago would absolutely destroy a car. If we remember the undercoating called Z-Grip, I think it was called, maybe Z-Grip. It was almost like a tar, but it dried really hard. That stuff dried out, and then it kept all the dirt and the grime and the rust all in one spot. It did, and it probably ruined a lot of cars, that Z-Grip did. And it was something that was told probably to the public that that's what you got to use to save your car. But that's what you got to use to ruin your car. Just because you're told something does not mean it's true. I obviously found that out a few times lately. Isn't that right, baby? So we got two pieces here. And I looked at this piece for a while and debated, do I cut that all out and strip that all down? And really, what is the point? What is the point for me to do that? Does it make it any better in the end? Probably not. It'll probably last this way just as long as any other way once I get that undercoating in there. And you can see Doug took these fenders off the car. I don't know how long ago. But you can see where he sprayed the undercoating or the penetrant to get the bolts, the fenders off the thing, and probably on that one too. But you can see where he sprayed that, and you can see how that stuff creeps. That's probably what's going to happen when we spray the inside of that. It's going to creep all through it. That's what they make it for. I'm thinking that I'm going to make it fit this side, and I'm going to shave this side off, I think. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Why not? Now you can imagine taking this car somewhere and say, clean up the rust on it. You probably would not want to quote because you probably would not want to fix it. And the guy that's doing it would say, wow, am I ever going to finish it? But if you just take your time, or not say take your time, but just go at it in an orderly fashion. Like, to be honest with you, I haven't spent a whole bunch of time. I'm going to get this welded on right here at that seam. Nice spot there. Just want to make sure it's tight. That's what we've got to do. Now, as I have that down on there, let's make it go together. This side can be sanded off, right? This side's here fairly tight. Get the first one right on the edge of the. I'm going to try to make one weld for two panels, if you know what I'm trying to tell you. And weld to the res port so it looks good. Where I have it, where I'm going on this edge, I'll be able to grind that off really nice. You can see how I've got the metal back a little bit. See the shiny metal of the res port. See the shiny metal of the res port going around. I'll be able to weld on top of that. I'll be able to grind that off nice. You won't even know it's there. Now with this one, I'll be able to do the exact same thing too, because I got a place for the weld to go, and my metal's not overtaking anything. I've got a place for my weld to go. So basically, That's what you would like to do. I would not want to bring this metal up too high and then not have it look good. That makes sense. We want to bring it together. Then I can come along here and weld that up nice and do a real good job on it. And as I lock it down with each spot weld, then I get to tap on it with a hammer to make it stay in place. As I've got that tacked on it now, I can go a little bit further and hammer it. If I go up here and try to hammer it, it's just going to bounce on me. I get back here where I've got it knocked down, well then I've got a chance for it to stay. Everything fit. You could have a pair of clamps, but you know how that goes sometimes. Alrighty, now I'm going to just put a little bit of weld going across that, just to show you what I can have when I'm done. Also just keep cruising along there. Now when I go to grind that off, I can grind that off really nice. I also can weld the top side the exact same way. Not every repair is like this, depends on the situation. All right, you see what I got going on there? And then there'll be a piece on the back side. Put a little piece on this here, actually. I'm going to weld this up, grind this off, show what it's going to look like, and then we'll go from there. Not really thinking about warpage right now, but I am thinking about making sure that I do a good job welding it up. And what I mean by a good job welding up, I want to make sure all of the metal that I'm welding is tight and right. Me not cutting out the metal and doing that and then getting everything fitting perfect is just, all I'm doing is making the repair faster. That's all I'm doing, is making it faster. Not saying it's any worse, any better, or anything other than the repair that I'm doing is faster. And taking it out and sandblasting it and doing all that stuff, it's faster. Doing what I'm doing. And that's the reason I'm doing it. I would not want to do this repair and not clean that out by hammering. See how I got that all hammered out? I hammered it all so the rust is not there anymore. I would not want to repair it and put all that, keep all that stuff in there. We hammered it and did that to it and blew it out and did that stuff to it because we want that rust out of there before we do this. Cover it up. Try not to leave any pinholes, just like Jimbo's gas tank. Try not to. Let's do a quick one on top of here. I've done a lot of different repairs on this, like this one I didn't cut it out. On the fenders I cut it out. On the inner fender I sort of cut it out because I wasn't going to repair both sides. With this piece here, it's getting covered up. You're not going to see that nothing's been cut out because I'm going to actually have it all repaired on either side. With the inner fender, if I did not cut it out and just repaired it, when you look up underneath, you're going to see all where it's gone bad. With this repair I'm doing here, you're not going to see any of it. So that's why I feel I do not have to take the time, is what I'm talking about, is to cut that all out and try to get that in there and keep everything in place. I don't have to take that time. And the reason being is you're not going to be able to know that the repair I done has been done because you're not going to be able to see it from either side. All panel replacement should be done one dot at a time. Boom, boom, one dot at a time. To try to keep the heat down, basically. And to do a nicer job welding it up. Now I have that on there, got that welded. The reason I made this choice not to cut that out and go there and save time is because when this is all fixed, you cannot see on the other side, see what's going on. And basically, there is rusty metal in there. There's rusty metal all through this car inside. If you want to cut it all apart and find out where it's at, and what are you going to do about it? Nothing. Inside the rockers were rusty. Inside everything is rusty. Like if you've driven the car or anything like that. But we're just repairing it. On this side, I could weld that right along there. It's not bad. I need a little piece going on here, but basically, you cannot see inside of what I've just done, and you probably would not know if I ground it down really nice that it has been repaired on the piece underneath of the cross member. We did cut that out and put a new piece in there. When we welded that piece in there, we left some metal in there because we overlapped it a little bit. We cut the center of it out. We overlapped it a little bit. But you cannot tell that that piece has been put in there now that we've put a little bit of rock art on it. And that's why I'm doing it this way. I don't feel like it was necessary for me to cut this rad all apart and have nothing holding it. I can just weld it up really quickly and go from there. So basically I'm going to do another piece on here, just like I've done on this side. I'll grind this side off so it looks really, really nice. Now undercoat that, get that all welded up, undercoat that. In my opinion, I think you've got a good repair probably for the life of the car or anybody's life of driving it, I would say. As long as you've undercoated the inside of that, it's not going anywheres. It's not going anywheres. So we've just got another piece to put on here, 2 more underneath there, and then we'll have the rad support fixed. What time are we at? 53. Let's put that other piece on. Where'd I put that other piece? It's on the floor. It's right here. It's right here. Let's do this, put another little piece on this. Let's make us happy. And there's probably a lot, I should have cut that out, Well, you know what? It's called, do I want to put that much time into something like that when it does not make a difference? And I got thinking to myself, nope, I do not. That's basically why I'm fixing it the way I am. Now there's a let's get this up in place. Good, good. I burnt a hole. Coat hanger it is. Burning holes in something that comes with auto body repair. That's what it comes with. If you're not burning holes, you're not doing anything. How's that? We'll get a little C-clamp here to make it tight this time. I just pressed it on with my hands last time, and basically I think a C-clamp would be a lot easier if it does not go through the other side. Come off there a little bit. Nope, not at all. Just gonna pull this down some, that's all. Yo! Nice. Nice. So that's how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to keep continuing on, welding it up like that. Any places I do not like, I just hit with the welder again. If there's pinholes or anything like that, I'll weld that up nice, and then I'll put a cabin on the back side. When I flop it over, I'll shave that off with the flapper wheel to make sure it's fitting right. We're welding these two pieces together with one piece of weld over there, and that's how we're going to do it. So this is what I'm going to do for the repair. Got one more piece to put on here, one more piece to put on there, and it should be good. Alrighty, everybody, thanks for coming back. I really appreciate it. The biggest problem sometimes of rebuilding your own car or fixing your own car is how to do it. And I've done butt welding, I've done lap welding, I've put it over top and lap welded it. I've done cover-up welding on it. I did some on the back of the car. I've done some here, and you just have to make the decision in your brain whether it's worth the work or not to get where you're going. On the rad support, I feel like once it's all welded up, I oil it. You'll never see any of it on either side. No harm, no foul. I beat the rust out of it. It's going good. On the quarter panel, I butt welded it because I didn't want to see the inside. Didn't want to look inside and see that junk. On the fenders and stuff like that, I butt welded it, got it close as I could because I do not want it to come out past the door. You know, this here is underneath the hood. It does not really much, much matter whether anything. The other stuff on the outside of the body is really matters. So, fix it the way you want to fix it and be happy. And that's the way you'll be happy, is to fix it the way you want to do it. And sometimes the easiest way is not always the way, but the easiest way is the way I like it. And for me, I felt like it seemed to be a lot easier and less time consuming doing it this way. I hope I explained that right. Thanks everybody for coming back. We really appreciate it. Thanks for buying the gear, the Hiltz gear. We really appreciate that. Back tomorrow and we'll be here.